Now that we finished this first interim year here, and what you all think the next step would be. I know Helgi has a motion he's going to make here in just a moment, but joint policy statements, we heard from John Kessler about that. John and Fritz Kepp have worked on a number of these. There has been no individual policy statements from either society this year. They've all been joint policy statements. That's been positive. And the committee felt like we need to play that up more, much like John Melvin was saying this morning, so members know what we've done and people that aren't members can see this as a positive thing that SAF's done. Develop a joint newsletter. We've been doing that. We have a masthead that includes both of our logos. Sarah has incorporated both sets of committees and chapters and events in that, and that's been a positive thing. Investigate opportunities for the NorCal Executive Director to serve both societies. Kevin does serve both societies in hosting the two joint meetings, so in some sense he already is doing that. But in terms of other activities, he's pretty much been in NorCal, so we would need to discuss if we are going to move in that direction or not. Continue with the trend of formal joint meetings. I like what John Todd said on the phone call the other day. It's exciting to get together and you have a critical mass of people that are from all over the state, and you see people you feel like you're part of something that covers the whole state. So it's a kind of an exciting thing, and the joint meetings going back the last several years have been successful. Brand programs like FIT, FCD, and other activities as joint. We've tried to do that. Tamara talked about promoting FIT at some of the SoCal activities. The legislative tour that's funded by NorCal, but the invitation went out over both chairs' signatures to the legislators. So that's generally been going fairly well. Seeing John Helms over there, one of the recommendations he made is having virtual chapter meetings and pioneering some of that. We've done a good job of webinars and educational activities. Mike talked about that earlier. But in terms of business and virtual society activities, we've not done very well at that. Seek input from membership. I mentioned we did the SurveyMonkey of members of both societies about about the recommendations and the pros and cons, and got generally good feedback. The final recommendation in the white paper was evaluate the success of closer ties and determine if the process for a formal merger should be advanced. And the committee felt like we're at the point now where we do need a formal vote of the two societies, whether it's a full merger, two divisions under one state society, stay like we are now, two state societies that function closely together, or just go back to the way we did it 10 years ago and be two completely separate societies. So before those were four general ideas we had, and we did want to think about the idea of a vote so that we could proceed ahead with the formal process on this. But before I did that, I did want to turn it over to Jay. We did ask Jay, and Doug Wickheiser was involved in this as well, to think a little bit about what kinds of mechanisms might be in place to bring about a closer formal relationship. And so I'll turn it over to Jay to talk about some of this. By the way, this is being recorded. Cal Poly, what was your first name again?
Brady.
Brady is the student chapter chair at Cal Poly and has agreed to be videographer. We're going to try to get this incorporated into YouTube and posted on the two websites so our members can hear some of the results of this. So I'm going to turn it over to Jay for his advice and perspective from his discussions.
Yeah, well, we're doing some research and seeing experiences throughout the nation with this type of situation. Doug Wickheiser made some kind of background information, so you don't have a background information, pass it along. We just made a few copies, but I'm not going to have that many. I'm sure you have it. But before we go there, one point that I is discussed in our in the background information you're gonna have is that back then National Council, we were looking about combining the councils. Remember you heard about that, we have 11 regions right now, 11 districts. And it was a discussion to make it 7 or 5 or small number for efficiency or for what we needed to do. So that came to the strategic planning committee, and one of the things that we do in the strategic planning committee, whatever decision we make, we go to the strategic plan and find out if it's really going to serve the goals of what we have. We have two streams. The Southeastern Society has up to 11% of the national membership, and then us are the lowest ones, and we don't have that big numbers, us being Hawaii, Southern California, and Northern California. So the idea was, well, we combined the lower number with a bigger number like Oregon. Maybe we can have a better distribution information, more efficient, and based exclusively on numbers. And the board decided that that's not the way to go. It's supposed to be based on service, not on just how many members you have in your district. So the districts will remain the same, and that was the recommendation, which was accepted by the board. And the representation, the way the makeup of the board is to represent those societies, Hawaii, Northern Southern California, or many other areas. But this idea of combining it didn't make sense according to the strategic plan of where we are right now. So that's something that it was discussed during the meeting, because you guys, you see the background information. Will this change? Will this create new information? Yeah. Then the other one is the bylaws. The bylaws, since the national bylaws changed, do we need to change our bylaws because the national changed? And we're coming up with a process for that, so we can analyze, each state society can analyze their bylaws and find out if they need to update it or not. So that's two things that I really want to make sure that get into place right there. So I passed some of the background information right there. But, and I just mentioned and this one I do have more copies. And this is what I'm gonna pass right now. This is a tool that we have for decision making. And we already passed this around throughout on some of the other meetings. But every time that we think of making any changes, every time that we go and say, okay, we're gonna do this, we ask, these are part of the strategic objectives of the society. If what we're trying to do, is this gonna be something that's gonna benefit the members, it's gonna benefit the societies, and in the long term, it's gonna benefit the number of people that we have in this society. And I was looking around, and in 2002, I came through NorCal to one of you guys' meetings, and I saw this thing that I looked at. It was NorCal SAF goals for 2002. And discussion is very important, especially as it relates to membership. So, and I think that's one of the things that we talk about here, is there's going to be a membership. The next thing I'm passing along with Mike Delaso's permission, I'm asking you permission right now. It's an email that Mike Delaso sent out in February 2014. Where do we put our efforts? Are we putting our efforts in the right pot to get the most out of it, or are we kind of going around? So my intent with this, and thank you for giving me a chance to do that, and Doug and I talk about it, is to see, let's think about it, how this is going to help you as a member, how it's going to help the societies, and that's going to help the forestry profession in the long run. So whatever we do, we need to think in those, with that mindset, mind frame, more than just making a decision because we think. So a strategic planning is extremely important. A lot of questions have been asked about this society, or the both societies, and merging. And until now we're looking at it seriously, we should see how it fits with the strategic plan. So just to let you know, there's 5 societies nationwide that they do have divisions. Allegheny, Appalachian, Southeastern, New England. This is one more. Actually, 4. Just give me that up. Yeah, Washington. Now the other one is, we have, for example, the Inner Mountain. The Inner Mountain decided not to have division. And Inner Mountain is quite large. It's Idaho, Nevada, and Utah. So that one is kind of the one that most closely resemble us in the separation, geographical separation. They're a lot bigger than us, and then, but they have some of the same issues that we have. I did talk to the Inner Mountain group, and they are all together. And as they work together, they are noticing, as they're moving along, that the south is getting, the southern part of their Inner Mountain, which is Nevada and Utah, is pretty much disappearing as they have presence right there.
Okay, question.
Yeah.
Which were the 4 that had the divisions? You mentioned Allegheny, Appalachian.
Allegheny, Appalachian, New England, Southeast. So,
And the division is usually a state.
yeah, the division is usually a whole state.
state.
That's correct.
Right.
And then
That's
we have
only
some.
4.
Huh?
That's only 4. You mentioned 5.
Yeah, we have. No.
Appalachian,
No,
Allegheny,
we're,
New England, and
no,
Southeastern.
and we're Arkansas and Oklahoma is also united.
Arizona and New Mexico are united.
Arizona and New Mexico are united. That's the Southwestern. They have good participation between them. I did check with them, and actually that group is an excellent group to work together. Geographically speaking and ecologically speaking, they have very similar situation in there. One of the interesting ones is the Allegheny. They work well together, but they do have some differences in how they approach stuff, especially when you have the Washington DC chapter, and you think that Washington DC will have a lot of power. It's actually the other way around. Our very own John Heisenberg. The only way he got to be canceled is with Iran. The person that had won actually took a job in another society and he had to leave. So John was able to move to cancel, but he tried many, many times. And we know what happened to John. He went from cancel to be the president of SAF. So that was a wonderful opportunity for him. But he said otherwise he wouldn't be elected. He would have had that. The northern part of the Allegheny Society would not vote for him. And I know we have to do it for me, to the kindness of you guys and the support from you guys. I was able to be elected, but it was a long battle. It took many years since 2002 to do it together, to work together, for me to have the opportunity to get there. So nationally speaking, what the national office, I told them that I will speak with you guys, is to make sure that every decision that we make, it makes a strategic sense. It's great to say, yes, well, let's get together, we're gonna work, but is it really gonna result in what we want it to be? Is it really gonna produce what we need to produce? And if it's not gonna be that result, we need to think about it. And then the other part that we need to be very careful, we need to ask the hard questions. We need to ask those questions in which, just like a marriage, where is the bank account going? where are you gonna go, where I'm gonna go, how we gonna split, in our case, meetings or leadership or decision making. I'll give a quick example. Just for this meeting, we talked to Alamy about having a meeting in Southern California. I said, great, I can make it happen. When gung ho, I got the Forest Service supervisors of the Angeles National Forest ready to go. And remember, right now, they were in the process of making a monument. I got called out to do something. I couldn't make that first phone call that you guys had about the meeting, and all it got changed. So all the speakers that I had lined up, everything, the four supervisors said, I have a package still for you. I give you the office, I give you the training center, I'll get all the speakers, all you gotta get the people here. Tom Contreras, who is the four supervisors for the Angeles, he actually wants to have the national convention in LA County. I said, come on, we can do it. But then it got changed. So unilateral decision making is something that we need to talk about. How can we gonna deal with that? If we're gonna be together, we have to be able to have a voice. And the most important part of this whole process is not up to this group to make it happen. It's up to our members to accept what we propose to them. So we can come up with whatever we have to say, but our members are the ones who are going to say yes or no. So, and at that time, we're going to make sure whatever decision we propose to them, what is exactly we're going to do, we better have all of the answers ready to go. So that's one of the things that. So I give you the strategic playbook that we have from national office. I gave you also what Michael also had mentioned before. I'm gonna give you one more, which is part of the presentation that Christopher Wyatt gave us at national office. Again, I don't think I have enough for everybody. But it talks about our membership. And we talked that right here that we don't have enough members. It's not a Northern California, it's not a Southern California, it's all over the place. You go to the very last chart, you can look at the chart, but the very last chart shows you the membership since 1992, and what the membership is going down. So, as you make these decisions, think about how this is going to translate in membership, support, benefit to the state societies, benefit to the forestry profession in general, and ourselves. Last thing I'll give you is a little handout that we have from that remind us what our SF is all about, and you guys have seen this. Thriving forests, essential resources, strong communities. So that's one of the things that the national office, we put an emphasis, that's what we want to do. So in here I have the last one, which is, and unfortunately I also missed the conference call that we had at last,
On the 12th.
on the 12th. I was actually in the plane, but I was able to join you at the very end to listen to some of the stuff that you guys were saying. But I couldn't speak because I was in the terminal and I couldn't say much.
Good thing we didn't see anything bad about you, Jay.
No, you guys will never say that. You know, I would have jumped right away. When I want to mention my name, you guys were already signing off. I just got the last few minutes of it. So I took the part that they had the pros and cons, and then I put some of those aspects that we had spoken nationally. But one of the things that I had, and you have it there underlined, we have put some of the pros and cons to be exclusive to one of the society, and some of those points are not exclusive to one society. You know, participation, lack of membership, lack of people join SAF. That's not exclusive to Northern or Southern California. As you can see, that paper is for all of us. So we should be realistic in that aspect. I know one of the cons that board representation, I did ask that, board representation, if we merge, will not be changed. At this time, there'll be one state society. One thing that happens though is that when it gets restricted is the traveling budget of your board member. So your board member lives in Reading, and there's a meeting in San Diego, and it's one state society, the board member does not get compensated for travel because it's within the same society that he or she lives in. So when it's a meeting in Southern California, I don't get any compensation. To come over here, I get a small compensation to come over here. So that's one thing that'll be gone for whoever is the next board member for this to happen. The other thing that it was missing right there is loss of autonomy. Is when you're merging with somebody else, it's not only exclusive to the South, everybody was autonomy. And then one of the things that it is somewhat different is management resource issues. I put in there because I think even though we have the people and you have county resources, we do manage similarly. So we need to share it. And then the bottom four, we will need to change the bylaws, yes. We will need to dissolve a society or two, yes. So if you're gonna, the IRS will not take one society, or the other one probably will have to dissolve both societies and create a new society. And then IRS world will put us right into the focus. I work with 5 state councils, and every 5 state council that have dissolved their nonprofit status has gotten an audit. So it's something to be aware of. So, and that's right there. And the next page behind that, is some of the items that I didn't see in the other parts. And actually, I sent some of this to Dr. Pirto, but never made it to this list. So, the single input pressing issues, I think it's very important that if we're going to do this together, it's a collective information gathering and just a single point. One of the big part it is, and I was talking to National, what happens, well, first of all, we lose a vote in HSD, there's one less person in HSD, but also we cannot apply for grants like you heard a little before because it's only one state society, so some of the programs are set up for, we're going to cut that in half. One part that is very important is the leadership. If we're going to go with a single board or a single executive committee, then you're limiting your chances for people from the north and south to be part of the executive committee, part of the leadership. So we need to work on that. If we're going to we need to address that. And then what that creates, and that comes from the inner mountain, what have created for them is lack of involvement. Because people cannot get elected. They try to get part of it, be part of it, but they cannot get elected to positions, so they just kind of go somewhere else. So we have had 4 joint meetings so far.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And we have worked together on them. I know Dr. Pirto helped a lot with the one in Swanton Pacific, all that. Have we shared the revenue between the 2 societies? Or all the revenue have gone just to North Society? So all has gone to North.
Yeah, it stays all in our.
Yeah, but all 4 of them have been not to North Society. So
I wasn't involved with the first 2,
Yeah.
but the last 2 certainly.
So what I urge is that this issue needs to be discussed. And we don't want to be discussing this after we make a decision and then we go, oh, well, we'll never talk about that. So these friends of mine.
On the flip side, Jay, also, all the expenses have been borne by NorCal.
And all the risk.
But again, we have joint meetings that were being great,
Exactly.
and all the rest too. But also, Dr. Pirto put quite a bit of work on Swanton Pacific, and facility and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So,
Right.
so, but we didn't talk about it. That's what I'm talking about. So this friend of mine, we're gonna get married. So I said, well, I'm gonna ask you 3 or 4 questions. So the first
Prenup.
question was, John, cats or dogs? She said cats, he said dogs. And we went like that for 3 or 4 questions. I said, well, before you guys think about getting married, then we need to talk a little bit. And they went and started to talk. So what I'm trying to say, whatever decision you're gonna make right here, let's talk. We gotta talk all those hard issues. We cannot go into something if we don't discuss everything that we need to discuss. So to help us with that, and I did not have the benefits of the notes. Somehow I didn't get your notes that you just passed along. So I had put 3 different aspects in here. And one of them is A, which is a complete and formal merger. I just took the last one. Complete and formal merger of the 2 societies. One as a single society, and the second option 2 is a single society with 2 divisions. And then B
Yeah.
is,
Jay, you must have got my notes, because
Did you
that
see-
handout you made is my
You have
notes.
them.
no, Doug gave me that to give to
Oh.
you guys.
Okay, well, you were copying, so.
Yeah, somehow I didn't see it. So what I'm trying to say, if I miss one of the parts right here, the B part is continue to be 2 separate societies, but share resources, having 1 executive director, so and so and so. And there's some questions below that. And then C is maintain the same status quo, 2 completely separate societies, and continue to coordinate as appropriate. Did I miss anything in there?
No, those are the main ones, yeah.
Okay,
And yes, sir.
just a question on the IRS thing. If one or other of the societies simply dissolved itself and the chapters joined the remaining society, would that require a new IRS ID number, or could it simply the remaining society add a couple of chapters, or 3 or 4?
And we can do that, but also it will have to be
You
talk
still-
about the name of the society itself.
Yeah, you'd still be dissolving at least 1 tax ID number. So let's just say, that it remains NorCal SAF and NorCal tax ID. So, and then we just bring the SoCal chapters into NorCal. You still have to dissolve the SoCal tax ID, which triggers the audit. And then the whole thing about the funds that were SoCal funds that are following those chapters into NorCal, it's gonna trigger that second audit. It's my understanding of that anyways. So whether we decide to do a formal merger and both societies are gonna dissolve their name and their tax ID number and get a new name and a new tax ID number. So you're looking at either 2 or 3 audits, depending on how we do it, from my understanding with a conversation I had with Jorge at National Office.
Not a simple
So-
thing.
It's not,
So-
no, it's not a simple thing, but it doesn't mean it's undoable. It is not. I mean, it's just,
So I think it'd be useful to get some feedback from everyone here. You heard from the 8 members of the ad hoc committee how we felt things were going in implementing the recommendations of the white paper. So you heard that. Jay did a really good job of going through how this ties in with what other societies have done in terms of structuring themselves to deal with some of the issues that were raised in the pros and cons in the white paper. So it'd be useful to get feedback from people and then maybe discuss the next steps. Jay did a good job of outlining what the key questions are of each of these options. So maybe we could open it up and,
Not limited to, we can put it.
oh yeah, there may be others.
I want to feed for thought, I want to say.
We've got about no more than 30 minutes, but we do have a full 30 minutes we could spend on this. So let's open it
I
up.
have a quick question of clarification, because I don't see how your 5 nationwide societies that have divisions are different than what the Intermountain is 3 state societies under 1 unit. I don't see how those are 2 different types of organizational structures.
Yeah, but they have, each division has their own group of people as an executive committee. Each state society it's only have 1 executive committee. So for example, Oregon is the whole state, it's just one executive committee, nobody else. So you go to Appalachians, you have 3 or 4 different divisions within the Appalachian, and they have their own executive committee.
And then
And the
there's an
decision making happens,
Each division has its own executive committee.
it has it, and then decision making happens to the main group, to the whole Appalachian, happened from the grassroots to the executive committee of each division into the state society.
So if we did a NorCal SoCal divisions, there'd be a NorCal executive committee, a SoCal executive committee, and then a California executive committee? Is that what that means?
No.
Yeah.
That way
So
we
before
have
we
to
get into-
think into that. So there's,
Okay.
and one last thing, Doug, you want to mention, in the bylaws for NorCal, you do discuss divisions, yeah?
Yeah, there's a part of that handout that you got from Jay is just the shorthand version of the sections of the bylaws to apply what we're contemplating. There's 2 sections. One deals, Article 10 deals with the divisions and chapters, which basically provides you the guidelines on how we would proceed, which has already been mentioned. That's the a petition prepared for signature by 30 members, a distribution to the full membership for a ballot, as to whether you want to carry out the proposed action or not. And then there's a requirement to do an amendment of the bylaws in order to incorporate those entities. And then at the end, there's an Article 14 that deals with a required audit for this disposition of the assets.
Okay, so, yeah, Helgi?
So, yeah, thanks Jay for summarizing pros and cons, and we've all talked about this for quite a while now, I think almost 2 years. One, yeah.
1 year.
And I guess I would like to highlight what I see as the benefits, because as you can probably sense, I'm in favor of it, in favor of a joint society. First and foremost, I think California forestry needs all the help we can get. Yesterday I was in a meeting with a high-ranking Cal EPA professional who felt that the word timber production was not appropriate in an objective statement because, as we all know, it equates to clear cutting. And this is what we're up against. This was number 2 in Cal EPA, and that person has the power to do significant things to forest policy in California. Therefore, tying it back to this, we need as strong a voice as we can possibly get. There's strength in numbers, there's strength in diversity. I think we need the diversity of the whole of California, from the south, fire chaparral management, to the north coast, redwood timber production. We need to be one society for that reason. We cannot afford to continue to play catch up. We do not have a dominant position in California natural resource management right now. I think we all know that. That's a statement of fact. That is the primary reason I think our society should join. Doug, I think, mentioned in his white paper that as a position statement, SAS should continue to play a vibrant role. I also think we've all had the experience with our local chapters that vibrancy is something we are playing catch up on. We have problems with membership, we have problems with getting people to show up for field tours, and I think the last 2 meetings we have had, the summer meeting at the Rimfire, where I think we drew a crowd of 110 or so, thereabouts.
125.
125. And this meeting,
cut it
where
off,
we're drawing a crowd of, again, 120, I think it's an excellent example of what we can achieve with a more or less joint society, and I think that is another strong example. So, in summary, I think we should go forward. with putting this to a vote to our membership, and that's part of the discussion.
Okay, so additional points of view about how well this last year has gone or where we should be going in the future. Julie?
Well, one thing I could see with the state society, and with the executive committee, oftentimes a lot of the subcommittees that we have, like awards, whether it's membership or anything, they're really one person deep. And, you know, you could have a rep from both SoCal and NorCal who really provide some robustness there, or if people had to move off that committee or something, you know, you have continuity. So I could see it as being stronger, building structure.
Okay. Other thoughts about how well the last year's worked, or following up on Helgi's point? Bill?
Well, it seems to me that things worked relatively well this last year in terms of just a general overall level of communication and cooperation between the two societies. I'm not completely sold on merger, primarily because I share Helgi's concern about some of the lack of understanding at relatively high bureaucratic positions in the state, relative to what forestry is and how it can contribute to some of the solutions that a particular bureaucrats might be seeking. But I don't know that having one society gets us to a point where it would put us over the edge. In fact, two societies at the same point. To me, I always think there's strength in numbers in some way. And there are notable differences between the North and the South in terms of just the forestry issues and the types of things that are of interest to potential members in each of those geographic areas. And I would be fearful of trying to get together something that meets everybody's needs, but it falls short. It just dilutes the message of what we're trying